We got a 2015 Ford Escape titanium 4-wheel drive. I'm going to be doing the front pads and rotors. I figured I'd just make this video in case anybody wants to tackle the job on themselves. It's pretty simple, basic knowledge. I'm going to assume you know how to jack a car up with either jack and jack stands, or if you have access to a lift. I'm going to assume you know how to do that. So I already have the front left wheel off, and we're going to start by taking off the caliper and go the rest of the way. First step, I'm going to want to remove this retaining clip right here. So the way I do it is kind of get in there first, just with a flathead. Pop that up a little. Same on this side, and then you can pull it right out. You'll actually see it grabs on the inside of the caliper. Next step, we're going to want to remove the caliper. So we got these little dust covers, if you will, or these little covers. You can just pop them out like that. And we're going to go with we're going to use a H7 hex head or Allen head socket, and they should not be tight whatsoever. The torque spec on these is only 21 foot-pounds.
You can see that just break loose pretty easily.
And now you can just slightly pull it up. The pads are going to come with it. So if you look, you got the pads in here, or they might stay on the bridge, but this time they're stuck in here. So the inside pad though will stay because it has a clip to go into the actual piston. That pad's out. And then what I was saying by a clip, you'll see that clip. So pads are out. Remember, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but this goes on the inside and the other pad will be the outside. Next step 2, you'll want to make sure you support the caliper. You don't want to leave it hanging just by this brake hose. That would be a big no-no. I have these caliper holders. You just put it on the strut or the spring, and it holds the caliper out of the way. But you could use zip ties, bungee cords, have somebody hold it, whatever works. So next we're going to remove tons of different names for this. I refer to it as the bridge. We remove this bracket so we can order to get off the rotor. Otherwise, you can't get the rotor off. So in order to do that, you need a 18 millimeter. And these ones do have a little more torque, but shouldn't be too bad. I live up in the Northeast, so I spray them with a little PB blaster. Not necessary, but definitely helps. The torque spec on these bolts is 129 foot-pounds. To get them out. I also like to keep pressure on it because you could mess up the threads pretty quickly if you just let it do its own thing. And like when I say pressure, I'm pushing the bridge against this. I'm pushing the bridge towards the car. And there we go. And in order to get the rotor off, you may have to hit it with a hammer, but this guy came off pretty easy. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up this hub a little. I'm just going to take a little wheel, grind it up, and then just clean off some of the rust. I'll put a little anti-seize on it, and then we can start reassembly. Alright, so I got the hub all cleaned up, put a little anti-seize on it. Before I put the new rotor and stuff on, I'm first going to compress the piston again on the actual caliper. So you can do this with like a C-clamp and the brake pad, or you could have done it while it was on there with a flathead if you really had to, if you didn't have the other things. I'm going to use the actual tool to press it back in. Otherwise, if you don't do this, you won't be able to put the caliper back on, because the old brake pads have got, you know, less, so the piston pushes out, and obviously the new brake pads are going to have a lot more meat on them. So there you go. I don't even know what tool this is, but if you search brake caliper tool, you'll find something similar to this, or this exact one. So I got that. If you want to clean this up a little in here, just make sure it's good. I took a little wire brush to it already, cleaned it up. So I'm going to put this back out of the way. It's just better to do this now before you got everything ready to go, in my opinion. I also just took the wheel, cleaned off right here, here, and on the back side as well. And so I got a brand new OEM brake rotor from Ford, and I'll just spray a little brake clean all over it before I install it. And just to hold it while so it stays out of the way, because nothing really holds it on at this moment. I just put an 18mm wrench, and I'll just put a lug nut on the bottom. You could use like an axle nut, or something in place of the lug nut, but just so it doesn't keep flopping out on me and stuff of that nature. So the next step, here's the bridge. So we're going to want to clean up all in here. There's 4 spots, basically where the pads make contact. If you look in the actual manual, they want you to, we're going to have to clean up all this, but you're going to lube here on the inside of this, and then over on this side. So I cleaned it up. It's not going to be perfect, but it's definitely, it's smooth to the touch. I guess the best way to do it would be with a, I guess if you had access to like a sandblaster, but some wire brush, a little brake clean goes a long way. And you just want to be able to smoothly run your fingers through it. Alright, so I applied the grease onto the bridge or caliper bracket. I'm going to install that. I'm using new hardware. If you did reuse the old one, you'd want to put a little blue Loctite on it. So I'm going to install this now. And again, you want to keep some pressure on this, else you can cross thread these bolts pretty easily. And if you remember, the torque spec on these is 129 foot-pounds. Now we're going to install the pads, so the outside one just slides in, just like that. And then this one goes on the inside, but remember it's got the clips. So I kind of put one side in first and then just squeeze in the other side, and obviously the top will go in it. I'm going to put just a little bit of caliper grease on the inside, but really not. I'm just going to put a little right here. And you want to make sure that the inside pad is lined up with the grooves on the bridge, just like the outside pad is. You can see it on the inside. Okay, so we're going to reinstall the caliper. We're just going to clean off these caliper bolts, slides. You can see down here it's a little mucked up. I'm also going to put a tiny bit, just a little anti-seize on the threads, and then just a little on the very beginning, just to help prevent it from corroding and everything like that. And we're back where we started. We're going to feed the bolt in. And the torque spec on these guys is very small. It's only 21 foot-pounds. So even if you don't have a torque wrench, don't go gun-ho on it. And the last step, we got to put that little clip back in. So I figure if you put in one side first, a little tricky, but there it is. And then you can see if it grabbed, but I just give it a little tap. It ain't going nowhere. It's in there. And then there you go. And then the last step will be, obviously, I'm gonna put a little anti-seize here, and I'm gonna bolt the wheel back on. And the lug nuts for this car is 100 foot-pounds. And then once you're, before you go take it out, make sure you pump the brake pedal a few times, and you'll feel it build the pressure back up. Otherwise, if you go back up and you got a big hill, you're not gonna have brakes for a few seconds. So just make sure you pump the brakes, and then you can give it a nice test drive. Make sure you don't hear any weird noises, nothing's rubbing, and you'll be good for a while. Oh yeah, don't forget to put in these little clips to cover the caliper bolts. Definitely helps protect them from getting corroded over time.